It's been a season of inconsistency for Carolina, but now it's time to show that what they've found is for real.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, March 21st, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch to get your Friday started the right way. Special shout out to all the everydayers joining us, all the Locked On Tar Heels Discord members, and of course, our great insiders. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head on over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. Okay, game day is upon us. It feels like it's like the 8th round of the NCAA tournament because everything's been like do or die games for a while now. But we're really just at the first round of the NCAA tournament. So we're going to get ready for that game as Carolina takes on Ole Miss later today. We'll have our Four Corners preview. We'll get to know Ole Miss a little better. We'll get prepped for the ladies' first basketball game of the NCAA tournament this weekend. All of that. Here's where I want to start. Carolina has won 9 out of 11 games. They've been playing better and for the most part have been showing up consistently. It is a change from what we had seen throughout the vast majority of the regular season. However, now, I mean, when you've been doing this for the better part of 11 games, right? Like that's about a third of the season. This is game 36, if I'm thinking correct. No, I think this is 37. I think the other game was 30. Anyway, in that range, right? Of where this is a third of the season that Carolina's been doing what they're doing. They have found identity. I feel like they know who they are. I feel like they're bringing the effort and energy and communication consistently now. But this is a new ball game. Yes, they played in the NCAA tournament on Tuesday, but it was the play-in round. And now, though, it's real and it gets going. So the question for me to consider, to think about, and I would love to hear an answer from you all on as well. Will Carolina be able to maintain their intensity and high-level basketball, specifically that they played in the play-in game? I mean, it was like if I could get a replication of that outside of the turnovers to start the game, perfect. I would take that in a heartbeat, and I would feel comfortable moving on to play again on Sunday. Like that's how high level what Carolina did on Tuesday evening was. But you come up against another tough-nosed, defensive-minded opponent in Ole Miss. And so the question is, will Carolina be able to dictate the terms of engagement again? I know this is a phrase that I often use when it comes to games, but I think it's a very important one. Basically, is Carolina going to be tough enough? And they have to be against Ole Miss. They were against San Diego State, and they got to bring that same energy. The second you take a breath, the second you let up, the second you say, we're good, we got this, don't worry about us, you're toast. Carolina's got to be just as dialed in and locked in as they were on Tuesday in Dayton. And it's not, I mean, it's very nice to look back on that San Diego State game and to be able to say things like, hey, look, it wasn't as close as the final score indicated, and the final score was a game Carolina won by 27. But as I thought Adam Lucas so wisely said in his article after the game on Tuesday, he said, quote, Tuesday's satisfaction can very quickly become Friday's disappointment if the Tar Heels are less focused against Ole Miss than they were tonight against San Diego State, end quote. And that's so well said by Adam. Just because you did something on Tuesday night doesn't mean a hill of beans if you don't follow it up with another dynamic performance on Friday, today, this afternoon. It's just got to be, you do not have room for error. This is not the 09 team. This is not the 05 team that can just roll it out, play 80% and still beat you by 40, right? This is a team that everything has to be clicking. And that's what made Tuesday night go so well. is that it felt like everyone did just at least one little something to contribute in some way. So what Carolina, for me, what Carolina has to do today is stay away from that feeling of like, oh, we done something. We are something. Look at us, right? Like, no. Have to, whatever chip they found on their shoulder, I'm guessing it was a we don't belong here chip. I jokingly on yesterday's show called them the fraud heels, the North Carolina fraud heels. Not as saying I think they're a fraud, but like they're taking on that identity of cool. Think we're frauds. Think we don't belong here. And then go talk to San Diego State about how that goes for you, right? Like that's where we're at. And for me, the way that's going to go in this game is it's all defense, defense, defense. That's got to be there. Carolina has to be locked in. They have to switch well. Which means they've got to communicate. They've got to slide their feet. They've got to be locked in. They've got to be ready to defend. And for me, that all starts with Seth Trimble. He is the head of the snake when it comes to this thing. And I know you're probably thinking, yeah, but Isaac, he's not even in the starting lineup. How can he start the defense, set the defensive tone? Maybe I'll say it that way when he's sitting on the bench. Well, there are ways you talk to your teammates about it. There are things you start watching in those first couple of minutes on the bench to be able to implement to everyone else of like, okay, you see how we're guarding our ball screens. But Ole Miss are introducing a wrinkle. So now we must wrinkle, whatever it may be. So in that regard, I like that Seth gets to sit and take in the tone of the game, take in the pace and the feel of the game for a little bit, and then come out and say, all right, here's what's happening. Here's what Ole Miss is trying to do. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go. Right. And that's Seth. I have said so many times this year, Seth can be the leader for this team. And when you see him doing what he's done defensively and so many times, it's great. Part of what Carolina did so well against San Diego State is forced them to be a contested jump shooting team, not letting them get to the rim, not letting them get a whole bunch of looks at the rim. And Carolina needs to be able to do that again today. I think that is critical for this team. Now, while I said I don't want them to get all like high and mighty, look what we did, I do think it's important for Carolina to have swagger. And they have a reason to be able to do, not just like false swagger, like legitimately based in merit. This team has not lost to anyone not named Duke in over a month now. Going back to February 15th was when Carolina started that winning streak at Syracuse. Carolina, from then until now, has played 11 games. They've won 9 of them. The only 2 games they haven't won are both to a team named Duke. The first of those games, yes, it wound up being a 13-point deficit, but Carolina led by 7 in the second half. And then the other game just recently where Carolina was like further down, but got right in it at the end, had free throws to go up by 1 with like 4 seconds left. That's where Carolina is sitting right now. They've done this. And so when you've not lost to anyone but Duke in the past month and a half, you start to look at that and say, that's right. We got this. And I again, I don't mean it in a haughty way. I mean in like we can do this. We are those guys. Look at how good we are as a basketball team when we stay connected offensively and defensively. So let's keep doing that. That's what I want to see from Carolina. Be active, be engaged, defend. Because the shot might not be there all the time, but that will. You can always effort and energy your way to defense. Let's do that. Let's make that happen and deliver an early knockout blow to Ole Miss, just like Carolina did on Tuesday night in their first game there against San Diego State. All right, coming up in just a second, we got to get to our Four Corners preview for this game. We're going to talk about the fact that for the second game in a row, not only is Carolina needing to defend at a high level, they're playing a team that defends at a high level. So how do you attack that? What kind of defense is it that Ole Miss plays? We'll talk about that and the rest of the Four Corners preview in just a second. Right after I tell you about Nissan, we're all about the stats here at Locked On because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the entire team and the gear wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. So whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling right on up to the arena, the Armada Pro 4X brings power and versatility and style wherever you go. So take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more right now at nissanusa.com. This episode is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Look, daylight savings snuck up on me again. I don't know about you, but I was like, oh, seriously. And if you're feeling that lost hour like me, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through the day so you can stay up that late. So whether you're staying up late like me to watch the NCAA tournament, squeezing in around a golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I've been staying up very late for the NCAA tournament coverage that I have to do. And I tell you what, the 5 Hour Energy is just the jolt that I need to help me keep going through the next day. So whether I'm at a game or traveling, the 5 Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and get it delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery store or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Four Corners preview time. Here's number 1. For the second game in a row, Carolina faces an opponent, and more specifically a coach, Chris Beard, known historically for their defense. When Chris Beard was hired at Ole Miss, I went back and read some of the transcript of it. He said, quote, "We want to be an aggressive defense. Try to take something away from you. We do try to be an aggressive defense that dictates, hopefully, what you're able to do on offense. It's no secret that when the ball gets to the middle, it's an advantage to the offense," end quote. So here's the deal. Chris Beard specifically runs a type of offense called no middles. The goal is to keep the other team out of the paint by pass or penetration. So as you watch, they're trying to funnel you to the sidelines and to the baseline, trying to use those as another defender. And in fact, they will shade that way with their defense. Like if I was guarding this microphone one-on-one, I wouldn't just guard it straight up like I would somebody else. I would shade to one way or the other to force him to the sideline. If that's where I was going over there, I'd kind of be a little more off to the side and force this microphone that way as the microphone drove to the rim. That's the goal of what we're trying to do. And they're trying to take your thing away. So what you got to do is be better at your thing than they are at their thing and not let that happen. So for Carolina, then, how do you attack this no middles defense? How do you offset what it is they're trying to do? Great question. There's a couple things I'll share with you. Number 1, fill behind. So let's say I'm on the wing and I drive baseline and I pick up a couple Ole Miss defenders as I'm, half-heartedly driving to the rim, but they think I'm going at it for real. Another of my teammates filters in and backfills right where I was out on that wing because that spot has been vacated by the defense. Boom, then I can kick back out to them and either they shoot or there's a closeout. And what do we do with closeouts? We attack closeouts. And so you drive to the rim. And if that's locked off, then you just keep going until you find the shot you need. So, and as part of that, if you need to kick the ball for a while, great, because you have now trapped them into making rotations, and those rotations can be very difficult in the no middles defense. And so that's what you want to do. Number 2, if they're going to try to take away the middle, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to try extra hard to get to the middle, because the theory of no middles is if you can keep a team out of the lane, it's going to be very hard for them to score efficiently, consistently, right? You might get a team that's on a heater from 3 for a while, but it ain't going to last all day long. So create middle opportunities, find ways to screen open some middle opportunities, to drive, to get whatever it is, get those opportunities. That's what Carolina will do. Another thing is, even if you're squeezed and pinched, a lot of times there are openings in the corners. And you know who on the Tar Heels is really great at shooting from the corners? Jalen Withers. And so that's great. Come on, give us all that. Boom, there's Jalen Withers. Maybe there's RJ in the corner or Cade Tyson if he's in the game, that kind of thing. So create middle opportunities. And then number 3, corner kicks. Penetrate what you can penetrate, kick to the corners. That's the play. And number 4 in how to attack this no middles, attack vulnerabilities instead of trying to avoid what the D gives. What the D is doing is trying to take away your thing and give you something that's lesser than that you might look at and see enticing. Instead, Carolina has to find a way to identify vulnerabilities and attack those vulnerabilities to score. That's the goal. And then number 5 is just to simply force rotations. Move the ball crisply. We know the fear of Carolina getting into a situation where it's like, oh gosh, these defenders are great. Dribble, 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 dribble. And then the ball game's over because everyone's trying to do their thing. That's what Carolina has to stay away from and guard against. So you move the ball, that's going to force some rotations. Drive, draw defenders, kick, score, whatever it is. Get them into rotations and make it happen. Number 2 in the 4 corners preview, 3-pointers are key to this Carolina offense. When they've shot well in this winning 9 of 11, man, they've looked great. And because, hello, Roy Williams, everything looks better when the ball goes through the net. Sure. But Carolina has been knocking these shots down at an alarmingly great level for Carolina and has raised their entire 3-point percentage to 36% as we sit here and talk today. Ole Miss allows opponents to shoot really well from 2, over 50%. Carolina shoots 54.7% from 2. That's 72nd in the nation. So that's good. You don't want to be 3 happy. But what you do want to do is go ahead and make them honest from the 3-point line early on. Establish that the way you would establish a run. Draw them out to where they have to come and defend you. And then that way, when you need the lanes, when you need to get to the lane or get some pick and roll with Elliot and Van Allen Lubin or something, it's there. So you need to be able to do that. And that's when Carolina, in this 11-game streak where Carolina's won 9 games, they've shot well from 3 in almost every single one of them. Let me give you some numbers on it. In the 11 games, Carolina has hit double-digit threes 6 different times. And they have advanced to the next level, in the 11 games, they've hit double-digit threes 6 times, and they've hit 8 or more threes 10 of the 11 games. The only game they didn't hit 8 or more threes was the Duke game to end the regular season. The Duke game in the ACC semis when Carolina hit just 3, all of them to Elliot Cadeau, by the way. So, there might be that, right? Like that is a possibility with 3-point shooting. And so for Carolina, you want to continue to rely on those threes stretching the floor, but also you got to be prepared not to fail. What happens if our shots aren't going down? Are we going to continue to rely heavily, I guess I would say, on our 2-point shooting, which is so strong? Are we going to continue attacking and getting the free throw line where, from everything I've seen, Ole Miss is just pretty foul prone and is going to put you on the line. So that's something to be aware of too. Bomb away. Threes are key, but don't fall in love with them and be prepared if they don't all fall. Number 3 in our 4 corners preview, Ole Miss just does not turn the ball over at all, ever. They're so good at hanging on to the ball and taking it away from you. Both of those things are negative for their opponents, like the Tar Heels. To put some numbers on it, Ole Miss is second nationally in turnover percentage, meaning there's only one team that turns the ball over at a lower percentage of all their offensive possessions than everyone else. They are 4th in the nation in turnovers per game. And so, like, basically, what does that all mean? That Ole Miss doesn't turn the ball over, but they take it from you? Every possession has to be valued at a massive level. I scream and rant and rail on this all the time. Take care of the ball. And then number 4, rebound. Carolina has to be unrelenting on the glass. They've got to be dogged on the glass. They got to go get every rebound. Every rebound that goes up is my ball. Like that mentality. Part of that is just because Carolina needs to do it, but also part of it is because because they're not good at it, I guess, is the just most direct way I can say it. Ole Miss is a bad rebounding team. They're 299th in total rebounds per game. They're 286th in offensive rebounds per game, and they're 259th in defensive rebounds per game. Their offensive rebounding percentage is 313th in the nation. That's not good. Part of this with rebounding, and the reason I call on it so heavily, is, generally we think of the Tar Heels as not a very tall team this year, right? Like, we can identify and agree with that. But Ole Miss is even shorter than Carolina. Their starters, for example, are 5'11", 6'1", 6'4", 6'6", and 6'9". Carolina matches up with that. Great. Like, almost probably more great than almost every other team they've played. 5'11" and 6'1" in the backcourt. RJ and Elliot are 6'0" and 6'1". Hey, we'll take it. 6'4" on the wing. That's Drake Powell. He's 6'6", 6'7". You got 6'6" at the 4. That's Jalen Withers, who's going to be about 6'9". And then they've got 6'9" at the center, which is about the same size as Van Allen Lubin. So Carolina is in a great shape from a size standpoint as we get into this thing. And that means Carolina has no excuse but to rebound like crazy defensively and offensively and make sure you're getting all those possessions, finishing them with these rebounds on both ends of the court. Make it happen, Tar Heels. And that's how you win a game. Like, right? In a game where the other team holds onto the ball so well, you got to steal extra possessions. Offensive rebounds is a way to do that. All right, guys, we got to get into our game details, get predictions for this thing, talk about Seth going home a little bit, and all of that and more coming up in just a second.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
North Carolina, 11 seed in the South region, taking on Ole Miss, the 6th seed in the South region. This is the first round, even though it feels like Carolina's been playing for a minute. Carolina and Ole Miss taking the court together in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in Fiserv Forum, which is where the Bucks play. This is today, Friday at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, approximately, because it will be factored based on when the game before it ends. This game will be on TNT. Here's something interesting. FanDuel has the line Carolina -1.5, while KenPom has the line Ole Miss by 1. Yes, unfortunate stuff there. Now, what's interesting is when you think of Milwaukee, you got to remember that means Seth Trimble is going home to the great state of Wisconsin. I didn't even look this up. Seth's mom and I messaged back and forth a little bit, just talking about, like, were you overwhelmed with tickets? What's that whole thing? And so that's really interesting. Let's see. From Milwaukee directions to Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. So for Seth's family, oh my word. Menominee Falls, I just did to Milwaukee proper, is like 20 miles. So, depending on where they live, give or take 20 miles. But good grief, I didn't realize Menominee Falls was that close to actual Milwaukee itself. So that's even cooler. Very, very much a homecoming for Seth here. And some student athletes, I would worry about the pressure of that. With him, I'm like, nah, man. This dude just goes out and plays hard, and that consistency can show up day after day after day, even if the shooting falls away. So I'm really excited for Seth to get to play basically at home here. Another nice thing about having already played, about getting the play-in game and getting an extra day to recuperate versus other teams, is you already got all your jitters out. And I know this scenario is a little bit different because now it's the actual tournament. Now it's the real thing, right? And so maybe you've got some more jitters, but I don't think so. I think Carolina is at this point now where they're just like, whatever. We just got to go out and play loose and free. And we're already living on borrowed time anyway, since a lot of people thought we shouldn't get in. Fine, whatever. Let's go out and ball. And that's what they're doing. I love it, man. And so really excited to see how Carolina handles this, especially when you're going to be dealing with a team that has not yet played this week in Ole Miss, and hasn't played for a minute since they lost to Auburn in the SEC championship game. I think that was in the quarters, because then I think Auburn lost in the semis. So anyway, there's that. Let's get the details on the rest of the stuff of this game. I already said Ken Palm favors Carolina by 1.5. Ken Palm, Ole Miss by 1. The series record, 1-1. These teams have played twice. You ready for these dates? February 28th, 1923, Ole Miss won 34-32. And then on March 1st, 1926, so a couple years later, Carolina won 38-23. I mean, that's an actual blowout right there by 15 points. Way to go, Tar Heels. The head coach of Ole Miss is Chris Beard. He's in his second year there at the school after being released from Texas the year before. They are 27th right now at Ken Palm, although I guess we could refresh because Ken Palm refreshes literally after each game. So let's see if anything that happened tonight affects. I don't think so. So Ole Miss is 27th right now at Ken Palm. They are 33rd in offensive efficiency, 23rd in defensive efficiency. For the record, in case you're wondering, Carolina is 30th at Ken Palm, so 3 spots worse. 18th in offense, 54th in defense. So Carolina's offense is rated more highly than is Ole Miss's, but the defense more lowly. So could balance out, and we'll see what happens there. Results this far for Ole Miss: they are 22-11 on the season, 10-8 in SEC play. Their best non-con wins were Colorado State, and that win has gotten better and better and better by the day. My goodness. And then BYU, same is true for them. And then Louisville. All 3 of those losses were by double digits. Wins were by double digits. So they went out and took care of business when they needed to. Really interesting stuff there for Ole Miss. Next, SEC wins. They beat Georgia. They beat Arkansas twice. They beat LSU, Bama, Texas, Kentucky, South Carolina, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. And actually LSU twice. So that's nice. Non-con losses. The only 2 they had were Purdue and Memphis, both tournament teams. And so you can certainly live with that. SEC losses, though, Mississippi State twice, A&M once, Mizzou once, Florida once, Vandy once, and Auburn 3 times. So Auburn really putting Ole Miss kind of out of their misery in those regards. So hopefully they can come and perform. Usual starters for Ole Miss are Jalen Murray, Sean Padula, Matthew Morrell, Dre Davis, and Malik Dia. But I also want to bring in the name Jamin Brakefield, which probably sounds familiar to you because he was a Dookie. These 6 guys, and this is crazy to me, are all averaging double-digit scoring. Sean Padula leads the way with 14 points, but literally the other 5 of these guys all average 10-point-something points per game. It's crazy how balanced that is, and that's great stuff. But while it might be great stuff for Ole Miss, it's not great stuff for us because it's like, oh gosh, who do we defend here? How do we take advantage of this? You just go out and ball, man, and let the details take care of themselves. Let the coaching staff take care of that. But there's no reason that Carolina can't out-athlete Ole Miss. With all due respect, Carolina is a more talented team, and they should win this game. So then, got to make a prediction for this thing, and I am going to go. Let's say Carolina wins but doesn't cover, which means literally winning by 1 point. So I'm going to go 76-75. How about that? There's my prediction for this game, 76-75 Tar Heels. Let's make it happen. Before we get out of here, the women start their NCAA tournament journey coming up tomorrow, Saturday. Remember, they're the 3 seed, so they'll be home in Carmichael. The women's side of things does that. The game is at 4:30 Eastern, so basically 24 hours after the guys tip off. Again, against Oregon State is the opponent, the 14 seed. Carolina favored at FanDuel by 20.5. This game will be on ESPNU. And the winner will play the winner of West Virginia and Columbia on Monday. So best of luck to Courtney Banghart and the team. Hopefully, Renaya Kelly is fully back healthy, and Alyssa Usby is fully back healthy as well. But we'll find out more as the days go by. You guys, thank you so much for joining on today's show. If you've not already subscribed to Locked on Tar Heels on audio and video, make sure you do that right now so that you don't miss a second of our show. Also, if you've not joined the Locked on Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to have you in there, as well as the Locked on Tar Heels Insiders, where you get direct access to me, as well as access to other perks, but also my stats and charts and data and things like that. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again this afternoon after the game for a live postcast reaction show. But until then, peace.